Before we get into this week's episode, I want to make a plug for Art Market Minute. This is Artnet News' new micro-podcast hosted by Margaret Kerrigan, who's the site's news editor Europe. It offers a weekly snapshot of essential art market news expertly compiled by the Artnet Pro editorial team.
I never try to decide the destination to go for the visitors. So I feel I make half, 50%. They complete the piece, 50%, everything. For example, concert, if there's no audience, there's no meaning.
Hi, I'm Ben Davis, and this is The Art Angle, a podcast from Artnet News where the art world meets the real world, bringing each week's biggest story down to earth. It's hard to describe the experience of a work by Ryoji Ikeda. The Japanese artist has worked as a musician, performer, researcher, and art maker, and he brings it all together for immense, immersive installations that fill the senses. But while the word immersive has come to suggest Instagram bait, Ikeda's works are anything but lowbrow. The experience of a Ryoji Ikeda artwork is both visceral and brainy, awe-inspiring and intellectual. With a background in experimental sound and an interest in science and mathematics, Ikeda's visuals often draw on huge data sets, flickering between rigorously abstract patterns and vast walls of projected data coming at you faster than you can process, as if tracing the sense of a collective intelligence trying to sync up with the universe. This fall has been a particularly big one for Ikeda. In Switzerland, his gallery, Almine Rech, staged Dataverse 3 during the big Art Basel art fair this year, the closing chapter of a project commissioned 6 years ago by Audemars Piguet Contemporary, the art program of Ikeda's longtime watchmaking patrons. The product of decades of research on sound and image, it animates data from the European Organization for Nuclear Research, or CERN, where Ikeda was actually an artist in residence back in 2014, as well as NASA and the Human Genome Project. Meanwhile, in London, the 3 parts of the Dataverse trilogy were shown together for the first time as the centerpiece of the largest ever exhibition of Ikeda's installations held at 180 The Strand, drawing crowds into what felt like a subterranean labyrinth of light and pure information. My colleague, Artnet News European market editor Naomi Ray, got a chance to experience both the London and Basel shows, as well as a live performance given by Ikeda in London. Ikeda doesn't do a ton of interviews, but at Art Basel last month, Naomi got a chance to talk to him about what he does. He's one of my personal favorites, so I have to say, I'm very jealous of Naomi, and I'm excited for you to hear from Ryoji. Here they are.
Hi, Ryoji. Thank you for coming on to The Art Angle. It's a real honor. Let's just jump right in. You have a very unique background, bringing together music and installation. How did you get your start in both of these fields?
My career started as a kind of a DJ, but my background is really from performing arts, theater. I joined a Japanese artist collective called Dumb Type, and I joined them like for 10, 12 years, from 90s. And that experience really formed me as an artist. I'm a really self-taught person, and I kind of dropped out of school. I have no background, actually. That experience of touring with this artist collective, with performing arts, installation, and concert, working all together, this is really my background.
And who would you say your major inspirations have been in art, but also in music?
It's really hard to answer because I love everything. And first, before being a maker, I love to experience art and music. Then my job is to make something. Yeah, art and music, the people try to separate, but for me it's kind of the same. It's not exactly the same, but it's very similar. And for me, it's really, really strange to say that, but I feel I'm not really an artist. I'm not really a visual artist. I'm more like a musician, composer who never read the score, and I've never been trained as a composer as well. But my main thing is to compose something. Music was always first. But music, what is music? And music is not sound. What is the difference between music and sound? For me, sound is a kind of property of physics. It's a phenomenon. Vibration of air is kind of part of nature. And the music needs a structure. Even John Cage's piece, like a silence piece, like a 4 minutes, 33 seconds, he's twisted with non-structured structure. But structure is actually mathematical structure. So music really is part of mathematics for me. And somebody said, I don't remember, maybe Leibniz or somebody, a pleasure of music is actually counting unconsciously. It's a beautiful word, but so I think music is very much like mathematics, like a brother, sisters. And mathematics also, you don't really see it. You can write it down, but it's abstract notions and concept is just out there. And music, you cannot see it, you cannot touch it. But on the other hand, art, starting in the painting and the sculpture, they struggle with the material. This is really like physics and science for me, because artists observe the world first, basically through the eye, and they make something. This is exactly natural scientists are doing. But mathematicians, no. They even don't use a pencil and paper and the computers. They just travel somewhere because it's so abstract. And music is also abstract, in fact. When you listen to the music of Mozart or Bach, even classical music, of course you put emotions, but if you listen carefully, you really unconsciously counting and you try to not analyze, but you do something, with the brain and with the body to follow the structure of music. So for me, both are very important. And eye-oriented world, like a visual art, the painting things for my installations. But it's based on, again, composition, like a mathematical structure and music, of course. I compose sound into music. And I compose data into artwork in the same fashion. So I'm very consistent. I just love to compose anything, even architectural elements. If I'm given kind of one space, first thing I do, how to compose a time and space, a bit like architect and composer's point of view or timeline. So everything is like that.
Do you have any kind of formative memory or experience of music or art that you kind of took with you?
Not really, because my heroes are all mathematicians. It sounds geeky, but it's really true, because the scientists like Einstein and everybody, really, they tackled the mystery of nature. But they are scientists. Mathematicians are not scientists. Mathematics, they will struggle with combinations of numbers and the shapes and relationships, values and magnitude. You can't see it, And which is very same process of using your brain when you compose, You can write it down, but it's kind of very difficult to explain by word. I'm verbalized feeling when I make something. So art and music, inspiration, yes, but that's what we human made, and it's great. But my greatest source of inspiration is nature and mathematics. There's, a long argument. Mathematics is invented or discovered. So nature is nature. Even without us, it exists. It's brutally strong and large and powerful and beautiful. It contains everything because nature means everything, the universe. But mathematics is so mysterious. My friend mathematicians said even we encountered other civilizations like aliens, they have probably different physics, different science, because the physical constant are different on their planet or their habitable space. But their mathematics must be the same. It's really universal. Like you build money, number, It's universal. Even you have different kind of religion. Yeah. So I really like nature and the mathematics. We call mathematics, but it's that thing.
You talked a little bit about kind of world traversing, and there's the world of art and the world of music. And I wonder, you're credited with being the rare artist who has credibility in music, but also in art. Do you get different reactions from the experimental music community and the art community?
Yeah, because they're different. When I work with art people, like curators and the people from museum and the galleries, of course, they love art, they work for art, but they don't care what I'm doing for the music, and vice versa for music industry. And I do also performing arts. The people really territorize. It's the same art, just one for me. But they try to make it kind of bureaucratic. Performing art department, visual art department, and the theater and the film. But for me, it's everything is art. So that's why I call artist, but it's a little bit unsettled because which kind of art? I'm always asked. But it's like that. Every single person is not that simple. She or he would like theater, but also poetry and also computer graphics. And I just try to travel all field of art as much as possible. I do music and at the same time, and it's interesting. Not only artists, of course, ourselves. We're not only focused on the music. We love art potentially, but he or she doesn't notice, there's this kind of world. So I try to make something as much as a different kind of feel.
And collaboration has been a big theme for you, from your work with the collective Dumb Type, as you mentioned, to with Carsten Nicolai as Cyclo. What is your approach to collaboration?
Collaboration is impossible, basically, because if artists work with another artist, in principle, it's very difficult. It's almost impossible for me. So that's why I don't really collaborate with the artist, with some exceptions, because the artist has a vision. And the artist, for me, I want to do this, and he want to do that. And why we have to work together. It's so crystal clear what I want to do. At the same time, I always collaborate with my collaborators, programmers, technicians. They don't really give me ideas, but they provide me the skills. Also, very different kind of point of view. Not idea, but it's technically or even contextually. When I make music, and she sometimes helps, they suggest, oh, maybe this is good for the installations or whatever, because we always deal very abstract coding, so it can be anything. You never know, I might start writing poetry. But it's like that. I try to be open as much as possible. For that, collaboration is the project by project. It's completely different members. But artists and artists is a bit like strange for me. When I was 20 years old, yes. But now, it's a bit too late. But I would love to discuss with other artists. We don't really necessarily work together. Just I have a lot of friends. That's pretty enough.
And how many people work with you in making one of your big art installations? What's the process of kind of realizing those very ambitious projects?
So it depends on the project. And sometimes many people, sometimes just a few people. But basically, my team is really small. I try to make it small because if I have 30, 50 people, how we can communicate. So then I have to take like a top-down system. I don't like it. So maximum 5-ish. And then we sit together and we just discuss. This is probably maximum 5 for me. Even very, very large scale piece. And then if I fix small number of stuff, and then I proceed the project, then, of course, years. Small team, and it's take a long, long journey to accomplish the goal. This is my way. And then I have many projects in parallel. And basically to complete the project takes at least years. It should take time. But some people, 100 people and like 1 month, which is good, like a Hollywood system, like a Spielberg. But the other filmmaker, like a Kubrick, they're very tiny team, and he takes like a 10 years. But I understand, this is really more less stressful and keep freedom. I take that way. Yeah.
And the use of data is important to your practice. And you collect raw data from everywhere from NASA to CERN and mix them into the sonic and the visual. When did this fascination with data begin for you?
Data not so important for me because it's just subject to compose. It's material and sound as well, and the pixels and the light. I say again, the composition is everything. So I'm looking for what to compose. So I found data like 15 years ago. Now I know how to compose. And I compose data into artwork and I show it to scientists. Yes, everything is scientifically correct, but for them it's useless. It's art. My process is highly driven by aesthetics, and for scientifically it's nonsense, they would say. But some scientists are really exciting to see it. But it's no meaning, just like a pure joy to experience. Because when you go to the concert, do you ask the question to the one melody of Mozart? What is that the meaning? You never ask to the music. But why you ask concept behind the piece and the things for visual art? This is a big mystery for me. Everything is live. When you see the painting, this is live experience. And you judge yourself. And that's the same like concert or the rock band gigs are the same. So my approach is very much like that. That's why I've been keeping quiet and zipping my mouth not to explain anything about the piece because I don't want to take away the freedom to interpret or experience from the visitors and the audience. If I explain something, this sentence is going to be the answer, which is so nonsense for art, and you have to be completely free to approach, to see, to experience. I always say, when you go to a really good restaurant, just before you eating, the waiter explain like 10 minutes about the dish. I don't like it. Before you eat, you are almost forced to input lots of information. I don't care. I just want to eat. Of course, the material is data or asparagus, tomato is fine. But the key is his job to make a dish. It's very much like this. And if it's not delicious, it's not good. It's not good, for me. That's why it's really fair not to say anything. Just eat, please. Data verse, yes. You see? And when they hear probably, oh, this is DNA or something, they got relieved. But it's different, This is really not good. As no information is the best attitude to enjoy the art pieces.
What kind of environment do you need to make the work? Where does it happen?
Internet and this computer, that's it. So we use the brain and ears. For example, the dataverse and contains a full spectrum of science. That means, we use a lot of data. You have no idea how large the data sets are. The point is you have to understand what data is, like a protein, the structure and whatever, DNA and the galactic coordinate and the universe, a black hole. So you got huge data set. This is just numbers, values, magnitudes, and you have to decipher this. That means you have to do science from scratch. So we all dropped out, and we have to really learn everything from mathematics to science, biology, and for the last 15 years, it's a great journey to learn everything. 15 years our team did, we don't know that much, maybe 1%. It's like that. But if I attended art school or science university or whatever, I never take any approach like that because I'm completely free, in the academic sense. So I can really challenge because I have no risk. I have nothing to lose. If you learn art, if you studied art or science and literature, philosophy for many years, you cannot challenge because you're so afraid to lose. You take a risk. But I have nothing. I just do. I'm so free. I'm so lucky as a non-educated person. And I'm learning every day. So this is a thing. And even in the art field, I can't paint. I cannot do anything. I cannot play pianos and I can't do anything. That's why it's free.
From a viewer's perspective, experiencing your work might take 10 minutes or it might take an hour or perhaps even longer. But many, many hours of labor went into crafting those moments. How important is patience for you?
For the visitors and the audience, I don't know. I'm a really impatient person. I never be patient. If I fed up, I just go to the next. And it's free for the audience. If they don't like it, they can leave. I don't care.
The experience of a Ryoji Ikeda installation is often very overwhelming and visceral, but it's also intimate and cerebral. It's a very unique texture. What do you want people to take away from them?
I never try to decide the destination to go for the visitors. So I feel I make half, 50%. And they complete the piece, 50%, everything. For example, concert, if there's no audience, there's no meaning. Of course, self-satisfaction, I will satisfy, what I did. I do. So I respect people. Even music, concert, on the installation, the exhibition, whatever, I make half, and the people complete half. This is fair. You see? That's why I really don't want to talk, explain the concept or whatever. If I give the concept by words, it's really, really obvious, like leading, they have to, answer, okay, this piece is that, by words, one sentence. It's impossible. Your experience cannot be reduced just by one sentence and even one painting. So your feeling when you see the artwork, experience artwork, you are in the state of a totally unbubblized thing. Again, when you eat something, you have some vocabulary in the words, but you cannot really transmit. You cannot explain precisely the taste of a tomato. How you explain that? A little bit acid things, but you and me probably taste the same, but who knows? So I respect really every single visitor's person's feeling and interpretation or whatever. Even to my mother, old people, kids, I never underestimate anybody. Everybody is equal, and it's really nice to hear like a feedback. And many times that the comment surprised me, and it's just like wow. So it's like that.
One of my favorite pieces in the London exhibition was a sound installation in which 6 superdirectional speakers wobbled out the musical note A, which apparently created a soundscape that is unique to each visitor. Given the precision of your work, does it bother you that you can't know exactly what someone is hearing when they experience this installation? Or that some part of their experience is beyond your control? Or is that the point?
Some people really misunderstanding me because I never try to control people at all. I control the system, environment. I create the environment. I have responsibility, the 50%. And then it's yours. It's theirs. Whatever they feel, this is right. So I really feel, even to myself, when I see the painting or I go to the concert, it's like I reflect myself, like a mirror. And if you like this, it's a reflect to yourself, your background, your unconscious state, whatever. Yeah, it's yourself. And it's really interesting when I got a really harsh comment by somebody, I see him. Maybe he's himself like that, herself like this. because they don't understand. It's so frustrating. They're attacking. Okay, they see art in their brain, not like a heart and like a feeling. You see, and whenever I explain, give the words to them, they never get it because art is like that. There's no answer. There's no correct way to experience even that piece, and there's no answer. And you have to discover yourself how to engage with the piece. And if you don't like it, fine, like this.
The exhibition in London was your largest in Europe to date. What's the development in your career and your ideas that you hope people will see?
I don't care about my career because I do music too. It was a really great opportunity to show many works at the same time, and that's it. I'm always busy. Most of the artists may be the same, but to the next thing, new thing. And past is the past, finish. Yesterday I did things that I forget. So many exciting things are waiting for me. And there's the next. I can't stop myself. But many artists are like that. I wouldn't say we, but I'm lucky because I never get bored, what I'm doing. And I never be afraid, of losing your position or the company or thing. No stress. I have stress, in a creative sense, of course, but this is not to share. It's for myself. But I'm happy, I'm lucky. So no career, yes, whatever. This is really artificial, establishment or whatever. That's why I move all down. And fame and name and things is really, really tricky. So this is also one of the reasons I never accept interviews, but I don't want to play with it in the media sphere. I don't want to exist there. And I don't really take interviews that much for the last 25 years. But then, come on, I exist. I have no problem. Many people come. No promotion. And I prove that. It's really better to keep quiet. And I keep my privacy. I have more time to make a piece. You see?
Tell me about the Dataverse trilogy. Is there a progression between these three major works? Do they tell a story?
There's nothing narrative, and it's a pure composition. So 1, 2, 3 were made at the same time, at the same period, some years. And it's kind of, you can see kind of variations or something. I don't know how to call it, but it's like that. I was supposed to have one, but I have too many ideas, and I made 2 or 3. For example, Dataverse 1 consists of 15 small chapters. So I have 45 chapters from different kind of science things. So it's like a symphony in a very different way. But I put all my ideas for the last 15 years for this kind of data computer driven thing. So it's kind of a conclusion.
My personal experience of your work was that it conveyed experience of synesthesia, to be able to see sounds or hear shapes. This is something that people associate with both club culture and also psychoactive substances. What's your experience with either of those things?
I don't have it, but it's interesting. When I make something, it's really like a composer. I make a kind of sketch, like a diagram or scores or whatever, even Dataverse or even just concert. Like a horizontal line is time, and the vertical line is many different kind of parameters. When you write a score, violin, piano, and all the instruments are the vertical lines, and then you put the notes and to orchestrate something, to make a composition. My case, all the colors and the pixel numbers and things, all the parameters, and then sound. Then I just enjoy the manipulation of the relationship of the structure. As long as you do this kind of composition, abstract composition, of course, sight and hearing, those elements are completely like mixed and very tightly synchronized. What is first? I don't know. The video and the music, it's very much mixed. And musical structure really can be easily converted to the other visual elements. It's really like this. And it's so difficult to explain all the process. It's also very complicated. But then when I check the piece, sound cannot be independent from the video, and the sound cannot be slave of the insights. I don't know how to explain it. It's just like a very intuitive judgment, It's very precise preparation, and it's quite intuitive micro judgments, back and forth. All these processes like this. That means I'm a maker, I'm creator. On the other hand, I'm the visitor, a producer, or whatever. Always back and forth. So that's the good balance for me. And also sight and the sound is always melting each other eventually. The beginning is like that. So each piece has a very different life and the process and the result and experience.
During your exhibition in London, and especially during the live performance of yours that I saw, my body felt a little outside of my own control. Do people react to your work differently? And what kind of different reactions have you seen to your work?
I don't know the reaction that much. But the people say, oh, so loud, overwhelming and things. But when you go to the death metal concert, it's much louder. Come on. When you go to the club, like Berghain in Berlin, it's much, much louder. It's extreme. And my concert is like, like a baby. I just do what I'm doing. And also I want to try to enjoy myself too. I mostly want to make the piece and the concert what I want to see, I want to experience myself first. I'm the first listener and the viewer. This is the only thing I can trust. I cannot do marketing, If I start thinking like this, I cannot make anything. I don't believe myself. I just make a test myself and this is okay or not. So, overwhelming experience is because everything about the threshold over your perception. I push, but never, across. If you do beyond your limit, for example, the sound, you don't hear anything because your drum is popped up and then the side, you cannot open your eyes. So it's always playing this and strong experience, physical experience, already because it's the rock, hard rock and the club culture. It's nothing new. I just make the same, impact and really energy by my way, with my way.
Experiencing your work can make people vulnerable and open their minds. Is there a message or a philosophy that you want people to take away from the work?
It's better mirror, like reflective, and it's no message. Okay. Because the work speaks for itself. And the work can speak better than me, anyway. For example, the Dataverse tells many things to you than me, really. And so I really prefer to leave it, And it's much more the rich, reaction you can get. Because every single person has a different kind of opinion and the feeling, impression, and different background.
Wonderful. Yes. Thank you so much, Ryoji, for joining us today.
Yeah.
That's it for this week's episode. If you like what you've heard, you can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcasts. Also, take a moment to rate and review us. It will help other listeners discover what we're doing. And if you have some feedback or maybe a recommendation for a future episode, go ahead and email us at podcasts@artnet.com. That's podcasts@artnet.com. The Art Angle is produced by Sonia Manalili, Caroline Goldstein, and Tim Schneider. Thanks for listening, and see you next week.